So tell me, one of the things I've noticed over the time I've been here, and you've heard it for even more years, how often do you hear, are you a search firm? Are you a media company? What do you do?
Yeah, it's funny, and actually we became so successful at the strategy is I didn't know you were a search firm because of the unbelievable work that DF has done over the years. So we actually had to circle back around and remind the industry that we were the leading search firm in the industry, with 9,000 placements and 900 clients and all that kind of stuff. So we've actually paid a little bit more mind to that, but it happened a lot, and I kind of am proud of that because I had worked years ago with Gary Vaynerchuk, and Gary always said, whatever business you're in, you should be a media that happens to do search. You should be a media company that happens to do real estate. That's how it should go.
Mm-hmm. And one of the kind of key pillars in getting to where we are today has been this shift from talent acquisition to talent access. Talk a little bit more about how that kind of came to be and where that, in your crazy mind, became this fringe location that we felt was so deserved in the industry.
Yeah. So, just the term talent acquisition never really sat well with me because what it infers, if you unpack it, was I'm a company acquiring something, and it needs to be a lot more of a collaborative, sort of synergistic process. So we started thinking the other way around, rather than going back to the old want ads, which the talent acquisition business was built around, put out a want ad, see who responds, hire them, hope for the best, right, in a 30-day window. That was really still today, unfortunately, the workflow. It's just become digitized. Right. So we thought, let's flip that around. Let's start sharing with our client partners a new way to think. How can we talk about the market you're in, the product you make in that market, the people that you'll work with, and why you may want to show up every day, and then give that story to best in class in market and make yourself accessible as to why they would want to move forward. So it's from a individual, you'll notice we very carefully don't use the word candidate, from an individual looking in and showcasing real life, right? Not the painted corporate videos, single shot corporate, direct to camera videos, who you'll become when you go there. Mm-hmm.
And I know a key piece of that puzzle is also for those A players who aren't looking.
Yeah. Yeah, so the talent that's not looking, Nick, you came up with that term a long time ago. It's a chorus of voices, signals out to the market. So the best people are busy solving problems. Their heads are down. They're not looking at want ads. They are looking at the landscape, though, right? They're looking at the big events, TCTs, the LSIs. They're looking at LinkedIn, but they're not there looking for a job. They're just looking to educate themselves around the market. Mm-hmm. So you've got to design your talent access strategy to happen to be standing in front of them while they're looking.
Right, there's a difference between being engaged in the industry and then something saying, aha, what's that?
Correct.
And being able to kind of tip the hat at those opportunities for someone to want to lean in or answer the phone when TMG calls to be able to take that opportunity.
Yeah, and we think this through a lot, you and I, when we think about our marketing positioning strategy for our clients is when you think about making a purchase, you've already been disrupted somewhere before that time, subconsciously, that the current state you're in is unsatisfied. So whether it's you're getting into a car that feels a little less fresh, you're in a house that doesn't quite fit the number of kids or members of your family, a job that maybe doesn't quite have the same oomph to it that it used to. And so it starts subconsciously and eventually runs into, oh my gosh, I think I might be in the market. No, you've been in the market a whole time. And it's important for organizations to understand that they need to design their talent access strategy around that. Mm-hmm. Nick, one of the things that's really important is, I was born a headhunter, and so unfortunately, sometimes Maslow's hammer comes in. I look at everything like a headhunter. But you came in, you said, wait a minute, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there's a number of stakeholders in decision-making process in the talent access world, mm-hmm. and share those thoughts with you.
Well, for one, we have the individuals who really should be at the center of the process, the people who we're looking to find and place and grow in these organizations. But then you've got a few other folks that fall in here that for, one reason or another sometimes can get overlooked, whether that's focusing solely on the hiring manager, whether that's not bringing HR into the process where they really should be. And, and then also the company at large. when you focus fully on just one role, we don't look at the landscape of where the company's going, on what could be possible. Being able to look at all of those different stakeholders in the process is so critical to not just that hire in the moment, but where you're going in the market and being able to make everything work on behalf of the future organization.
Yeah, and that's where the design of TMG over the years has occurred, right? So if you just take, well, let's start with this. All meaningful change occurs at the fringe. It doesn't occur in the center. And we talk about this very often. Both the constructive and destructive things occur in the fringe, whether it's society, civilization, your household, or a business model. And so what we did is you look at that classic center of the circle, center of the bullseye search. But out on the fringes, we looked at other business models that included marketing and media, data analytics, RevOps function, and then what is the user experience? And then we said, how do we pull those into the talent access strategy and think about each of those four functions you talked about, the individual, HR, the hiring manager, and the company at large. And you've created, your team, along with the other stakeholders at TMG, have created a suite of products around that, right? So let's jump first into the obvious, because we're here in this studio, the ideation and the power of using DF and media, before we get into marketing, media as a tool.
Well, to your earlier point about every company should really start as a media company, because it doesn't matter what your message is if no one hears it. And I find that's one of the most important pieces, and one of the reasons why we wanted to create Dragonfly to what it is today is to prop up the industry, prop up those companies on the fringe that, if not but for, could not be seen by the rest of the market, and we're able to continue to push them further along and hit that next milestone so we can make change and impact into not just the lives of the companies, but the ultimate patient. And being able to focus around that was the goal. And being able to take a step back and look at how can we sort of, for lack of a better term, weaponize what we have here for our companies and for those stakeholders in order to further those goals and get to some of those milestones quicker, or other milestones that we would have never gotten to.
Yeah, and one of the things I learned over the years as a headhunter in 1992 when we decided to go into medtech, we decided to go into it for a number of reasons, but one of those reasons was it created such a barrier to entry because you had all the disease states you had to learn, then you had to learn a large part of the devices that would fall within those disease states, then the functions and the nuances in those functions, design, development, clin, reg, qual, et cetera. And most headhunters would be like, that's too hard, I'm gonna go do accounting. Or that's too hard, I'm gonna do banking. So we know that over the years, the massive investment in education internal to TMG that we've had is we've created subject matter experts within TMG. And that subject matter expert sort of earned subject matter expert should be important to both the individuals who are looking for a new career role, as well as the organizations that are partnering with you to carry the message of their organization to the market. Because if you can't articulate the career opportunity and who you'll become in that company in the language and contextual expertise of the market, you're not going to be effective. And so when we decided to put DF together, we also made it self-serving and said, I don't want to just show off our SME with one phone call, one conversation, hang it up, do it again. While it's effective, it's not really leverageable. So we said, let's create a studio and let's put ourselves right under the lamp, under the magnifying glass, and let us show the industry that we understand it, we cherish it, we stand it up, and that's why we're so present at a lot of these events, being asked to moderate, participate, host, chair, and even be an advisor to them, because we are more than a headhunter.
Data analytics and AI are so important in the current landscape and the future landscape. And it's been imperative to not just internal at TMG how we function, but how we function on behalf of our clients in the talent access world.
Yeah, look, we've incorporated, we're again, the only search firm that's only media marketing production company, production facility, and highly likely the only one with a full-blown RevOps data analytics effort. And so look, RevOps is a really important function. Data analytics is, and the use of we have internal on our IP and the AI function on talent access. Let's start with our stakeholders, right? Especially the hiring manager, the company, and HR. We've got, so with more than 400 plus successful placements a year. That's tens of thousands of conversations with individuals in the marketplace in medtech. And one of the things that we do is we capture all that activity within our function, especially as we're doing these retained searches for our clients. Why is that important? Because we want to be able to offer our clients a very high fidelity signal out in the marketplace, whether it's salary, current salary based on geography, whether it's what does their hiring process look like, and we track every single step through the hiring process for a process improvement on them. We also allow them, when we take on a search, we'll give them primary target, then what's our secondary targets, and what's our tertiary targets. And we'll tell them when we're at a certain percentage saturation point within those searches that we can instruct back to them that we may want to expand either geography, lessen a skill set, increase the salary range in order for them to get the best slate, meaning range of individuals for that role possible. So that's the benefit to the client side. The internal side to the search consultant is the number of tools our search consultant teams have at their fingertips between our proprietary database, the AI-based sort of CRM that we used, and some internal, let's call it personalized search software that's been developed. We've got our own internal software team too, so we can talk about that. Why is that important? We get our searches done quicker, more efficiently, which means we can keep our pricing down, higher value for the client, rather than coming out at a typically market higher price. Our cost and the value they get is substantially less because we're able to move more searches through less of a time period and still put out an incredibly high quality product. So that RevOps data analytics AI function gets used in-house on behalf of our clients, the individuals we place, and the companies.
And where that ties in, I love that for the UI UX on the website, we're able to provide truer yeses and truer nos to the individuals joining those companies because we're thinking about retention in the interview process and in the process as we close out a search as well. And that's where those web tools combined with RevOps and analytics come into play on behalf of the clients.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Retention starts in the interview process. It doesn't start post-hire with pizza parties and beanbag chairs or less time in the office. While those things contribute, systemically, the reason why you have retention issues is you generally pick the wrong player for the wrong team. And so when you pick the right player for the right team, by the systems we've built between our media, the way we represent our organizations to the marketplace, and then sort of the high fidelity data we get for individuals, that ends up making a better selection process and more, let's call it diligence on behalf of the individual and more diligence on behalf of the client partner than any other search firm out there. So when you start to converge all those, you really get a value inflection point to our clients.
And the user experience is at the center of everything that we do.
Yeah, well, look, your team, the TMG team, but led by you, the number of products that we have that have been designed specifically for that UI, UX, user experience, that user interface, user experience is, I mean, you take me through the products there that we have that have been custom built by our own internal software team, not outsourced, and a marketing team that has made sure that that UI, UX is of top-end value. So what are those products?
Yeah, so, one at the front and center is the position brief, really being able to give, to the earlier point, the market, the product, the team, the mission, what is happening within that company of why someone should join that and who they would become to go there. And it's all wrapped up really nicely and elevates the hiring brand of the company we're working on behalf of and partnering with. Then you get into going through the search. We have experience surveys at the end so that we're able to really understand what was that process like, what could we adjust for future moving forward, and is there anything we can pass on to the client from there. And then at the end, we really want to make sure that this is a true partnership, and what that means is feedback. How do we share a search summary with the client at the end of the search that says, listen, here's what we did, here were the adjustments we made, here's where we should go from here, and here's everything that happened across the board so that that data can be used for future facing. And one of the last things that I'll bring up as far as the product side is also we've done competitive analysis reports for clients based on where should they have their headquarters, where should they open a new location, what should they be considering that they haven't even thought about, but we're able to put together in a bespoke luxe experience so that they can take that to a board and to other members of the organization to make a really kind of well-defined decision.
One of the things too, and I want to dig in a little deeper because there's a philosophy at TMG when we talk about what happened in this search. So we believe, and I mean this respectfully, we believe that the least important person in a search process when it's over is the person who got the job. Why? They got what they came for. Having said that, there were 3 to 4 people who were finalists in that search who didn't get the job. They took time off, they put their resume together, they disclosed personal things, they went through an interview process, but for whatever reason, they did not get the offer that they wanted. We have that survey that is highly personal, highly confidential, deployed in an unbelievably elegant way, that we want to survey those who did not get the offer and did not get what they wanted. In addition to the person who did, what was their experience interacting with TMG, interacting with the client? We aggregate that data and we keep that first and foremost for process improvement, Six Sigma, in our organization, and we also share it with the client. And going back to the search summary, one of the things too is we just don't think of our relationships with our client partners as transactional. That advice we give them generally also transcends the search relationship. We give them insight as to what they may want to consider doing in their organization that might be able to emulate what the #1 search firm in the world does, and how can we help them incorporate that into the search work they do without using a search firm.
All of that said, all of the amazing kind of features we've been able to build and put together in partnership with our clients and companies in the industry over, decades now. What's next?
Yeah, that's my funnest opportunity I have. The privilege I have is working with 3 dozen plus individuals at TMG, and they all give me the freedom and liberty to be incredibly elite at each of their functional roles. So it allows me to be a mad professor out there. And I think what we do really well is we look at, there's this book out there called Blue Ocean. And we look at other models out there. If I think about what does Amazon do, if I think about what does Chick-fil-A do, if I think about what does Tesla do on how to buy a car, right? I want to bring that innovation, that thought of innovation, to the talent access world. And what we continue to do is, again, spend that time in the fringe and bust it out, and then bring that thought back from the wilderness. So I think there's an incredible opportunity right now to look at retained search, which is what we do, and then other products out there called contingency search. And you and I are working together on this. I think there's another product out there and a family of products out there that give the same value as retained search in a collaboration, a partnership with client partners that does a lion's share of the work, media, marketing, position briefs, and then this unique product we're working on called talent mapping, where it's almost like those services where you can buy all the ingredients in a box, and it comes to your house, and it's all the elite ingredients, but it's up to you. You still get instructions how to deploy it. Yeah. I'm excited that we're working on that with all these tools that we've built, all these media tools we've built, all this messaging, and bringing that to the market and providing an additional product beside the retained search we have that I think our clients will absolutely be clamoring for. So that's one of the things that's in the lab right now that I feel like I'm okay lifting up the curtain on. So our clients will be happy about it, and clients who are not clients right now, who aren't going to do retained search maybe, are going to be happy about it as well. So stay tuned on that.
And I can tell you from, inside, there's such an excitement to be a part of that build and a part of that Mad Professor lab, and makes every day here interesting for sure.
And that's what makes this so. Look, how often do you have a search firm that you have a chief marketing officer, you had a head of software development, UI, UX, right? You've got a head of media marketing sitting inside there, right? You've got 2 search leaders who between them have over 60 years, and I'm not included in there, sitting in there. And you even have clients sitting in there. And you have a vice chair who's a CEO, multiple time CEO of 5 startups, all sitting in there and go, that's that's insane, don't do that, or that's insane, let's do that. And so that's where this is like an incredibly privileged playground for my mind to play in.
And it's always insane.
Always.
It's just whether we do it or not.
That's right.
Thanks, Joe.
Yes.